Let's bring this meeting to order. Everybody bow. Gracious God, our Father in heaven, thank you once again for blessings upon our town, upon its citizens. Thank you for the election that we was able to have, freedom to elect our representatives. Thank you that it went smoothly, without incident. And we continue to pray for our country, that the transition will be smooth also. We ask your blessings upon us tonight as we do business for the town, and that every decision will be in the best interest of all citizens. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
First item, roll call.
It's Mr. Mayor Black,
Present.
Commissioner Connor,
Present.
Commissioner Law, Commissioner Lockwood, Commissioner
Next item will be the adoption of our agenda for tonight. I have a motion. I'll second. Motion is second, all in favor? So carried. Next item is some attendees. Anybody from the vast audience to make a comment? This item is a proclamation to recognize that November as Native American Heritage Appreciation Month. Whereas American Indian Heritage Month celebrates indigenous people honoring tribal sovereignty, in rich history, culture, and inherent strength of North Carolina's recognized tribes and Indian organizations. And whereas North Carolina is home to 8 state recognized tribes: the Eastern Band of Cherokee, the Kalahari, the Lumbee, the Halawali, and the Oceaniki Band, Waccamaw Sahone, with 4 urban Indian organizations: the Cumberland County Association for Indian People, the Guilford Native American Association, the Metrolina Native American Association Society. Each of these tribes and associations is represented on the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs, and whereas today there are more than 130,000 North Carolinians who identify as American Indian, living in all 100 counties, making it the second largest American Indian population east of the Mississippi River, and the 7th largest American Indian population in the United States. And whereas education has always been valued highly by American Indians, and as such, schools were established in all tribal communities across North Carolina to educate American Indian students, including High Plains Indian School, East Carolina Indian School, Hawkeye Indian School, Halawaya Safoni Tribal School, Wade Awake High School, and Cherokee Tribal School. And whereas the University of North Carolina at Pembroke, originally founded as the Croatan Indian Normal School in 1887 and later becoming Pembroke State College for Indians, then Pembroke State University, is now one of the 16 universities of the North Carolina system. And whereas the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs, the North Carolina American Indian Heritage Commission, the North Carolina Museum of History, and North Carolina's Indian Tribes and Urban Indian Organizations collaborate on American Indian Heritage Month celebrations each year to increase awareness of American Indian history and issues. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Black, Mayor of the town of Ranlo, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as American Indian Heritage Month in Ranlo and commend its observance to all citizens. Do we
I'll make such motion.
We have a second, and all in favor? So carried. Adoption of the October tenth regular meeting minutes. Everybody read those minutes? We have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Have a second, all in favor? So carried. Presentation of monthly expense and financial reports.
Mayor, I'll take that one. This is the monthly financial expense and the finance report. We get this every single month. Nothing's changed. As you'll see on the front page, you'll have all of our essential cash flow and account information. On the second page, what you see is our monthly year-to-date report showing how far we are through our fiscal year, the percent remaining, and the accounts associated with our general operating budget.
All right, no questions. Next item would be a resolution to accept NCDQ BWI grant funds.
So I'll take that one as well. So yeah, so Mr. Mayor and Board, before you tonight, this is nothing new. This is the lead service line replacement project that we've been working on. We've been actually working on for a while. When the state awards a municipality or a governing body, any sort of grant funding, one of the checkboxes that we have to do is we have to pass a resolution, adopt a resolution, accepting the grant funds. So, this is pretty boilerplate language, but it just kind of, it will tell the state, yes, you told us that you, that we've been awarded funds. This is the governing body saying we'd like to accept those funds. So we can adopt this.
I hear a motion. Make a motion. Have a second.
Also.
All in favor? Carried. The item is approval of grant project ordinances, water and sewer AIA.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Mayor, well, number 9 is for the lead service line inventory, and then number 10 is the same thing, a grant project ordinance for the water and sewer ag. What I can do is talk about both at the same time. So this is another kind of one of those, just check boxes. So essentially, these are two different projects. I'll tell you, I'll go one by one, to ahead of myself too. So the lead service line inventory, that was a project I was just talking about. This is a federal mandate, come down and essentially take a look at each of our lines to see if there was any presence of any lead pipes that were used in our system. What the grant project ordinance does is essentially it's the legal way of basically allowing us to appropriate funds to that project. So all this is doing is it's essentially telling our finance director that we can set up an account within our system to be able to start appropriating funds for this project that this board has already been through, approved, and seen. This is kind of just an internal bookkeeping thing so that we can create that fund with the state.
I am Tim Mason.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
I have a motion. So carried. Then also.
I think so, right? You can put the chair over there. I'm sure she would love that.
Request for qualifications, town hall and police station project.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, so I'll take that one as well. So as you know, we've gone through a pretty serious move here over the last couple of months. And in an effort of not getting complacent, what I have before you tonight is a request for qualifications or an RFQ that you've probably seen in the past for us to go ahead and see if we can put out and get any attention on an architectural firm that would be interested in starting the beginning process of designing and kind of this conceptual idea of what our new town hall and police. So if you want to look through it, I'm happy to kind of walk through it kind of quickly. It just, please also remember that this is not like a binding contract. This is not signing up for something right now. We're on the hook for X amount of dollars. This is just an RFQ, so that we can start beginning to have the conversations around what firm can start that works with us. Because as amazing as the church has been to take us in here, obviously, you know, we still need a home. We still need to have a town hall and a police station that our citizens can come to and enjoy, and that staff can also work out of. So what I put in this RFQ is a summary, an introduction, kind of a background and a story on how we got to where we are. Project details being what the town hall services, so basically our utility billing and administration side, our police station, how many folks that we have down there, and then kind of the initial building vision. And what I was stressing and really that this is not going to be the kind of situation where we're gonna hopefully get a firm that's interested in wanting to work with us. What it's not going to be is somebody sends us what they think is great, and then we say yes or no. It's gonna be the exact opposite. It's gonna be very collaborative. It's gonna be very us working together and telling an organization what we want to see, right? You know, we've kind of been looking forward to having these conversations. This is actually the fun part, right? Like, this is what we kind of get to say, you know, there's this architectural pattern that the mills do. We'd love to be able to work that into our town hall, or whatever, like any kind of, you know, little things or big things that we want. But I want to drive home that this is going to be driven by us. This is not going to be something that we're going to feel like we have to say yes because somebody did it or somebody didn't. This is going to be something that where when this goes out and we get somebody who's interested, it's going to start with, okay, we come in and start talking to staff. What do you need, please? What do you need, billing? Oh, we like these folks can't come in all the time. Perfect, we'll build that into it. Come and meet with the council. Hey, Board of Commissioners, what do you guys think here? What do you want to see in your town hall and your police station? And have that collaborative process, and then even have a meeting with the public. What do you want out of your town hall? What do you want out of your place of government? And like I even mentioned before, I think something that would be really interesting to bring up is having some sort of history room in the front lobby. When you come in, you can pay your water bill, but then you look over to the right, and there's a room that has some of the history of our mills, maybe some textiles hanging in there. We actually took the town of Ranlo off the old building. We could put that in the history room and say, this was the sign that hung over the town hall from 1971 until 2024. And as that 50 years from now, that's going to be something really cool to take a look at. And I'm sorry I'm getting kind of off on a tangent here, but this is the fun part, right? This is kind of where we get to say, what do we want as a governing body, as a staff, as the people here in Ranlo? What do we want our building and our to look like that we're going to grow into for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, right? So this is that very, very first baby step. So I don't want you to think that this is walking in anything crazy. But I think it is important not to lose steam on the fact that we do need to have a home. So this RFQ, if the board is okay with it, we'll go out, we'll post it essentially for 30 days. It'll go out on our website and to the Gazette. And then we will have a selection team. And from that point, I'll be able to work with the board and talk about what the next steps would look like. So happy to answer any questions. It's all pretty laid out here, but that's basically all I have to say on that.
Very much. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, next item is, discussion regarding noise ordinances, clarification.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. So this is one that I've been working with our police chief on very closely. So we've been running into some issues enforcing our noise ordinance, and I'll explain. So what I've included here, we'll go into it, but I'll just at least tell you what I've included. I'll tell you what the problem is, and then I'll tell you what at least my recommendations are, but it won't be the board's decision. So the first page you have is our current Ranlo ordinance on unnecessary noise. And then you have some examples behind it, for example, Holly, Dallas, Cramerton, and Belmont all behind for some examples. The two kind of things that we're running into right now that we're having some trouble with from the policing side is that our ordinance isn't very clear. So when we go to try to enforce the ordinance, if it's not clear, we can't really enforce it, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at Section 2, it says the playing of any radio or phonograph, right? So obviously that's a little bit dated. If we have a party happening at 2 a.m. and it's a phonograph, I'm assuming that this is ordinance was probably written a long time ago. So I would recommend first that we go through and update some of the language to say a Bluetooth speaker or a television, or, to include some of those other things that aren't essentially captured by that specific section of that ordinance. But then the second recommendation, this is a recommendation that Chief and I put together that we feel comfortable with. If you'll notice in section 6, there is mention of a time, but that time is specifically referenced to maintaining any garage or service station. And I think we've kind of interpreted it as, well, that should be the whole rest of the town, but that's not exactly what the ordinance says. So right now, for example, if we were to have, let's say, a house party or anything going on that was creating a noise or a disturbance, if it was midnight, 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., there's nothing specific here that we can go back and cite, where if we say to somebody, hey, you have to turn it down, that they don't necessarily have to. So what the recommendation that I'm gonna ask for tonight, or at least just present to the board, would be we add another section in to make it a little bit more clear to say a town-wide 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Noise ordinance. So that would be my recommendation, and there's a lot of different ways that other towns have taken a look at this. Mount Holly, for example, does the 11 to 7. Dallas does something very similar as well. Lowell actually takes it one step further. This is something that I would explore if the board wanted me to. But I think we probably prefer just the 11 to 7, but what Lowell does is they have a decibel meter. That basically is a little machine that tells you essentially how loud something is, and if they're X amount of feet away from an area where a complaint came in, which is what drives the fact that we're out to all of these noise ordinance complaints in the first place. Got a complaint, police goes out to it. What Lowell does is they have a little machine, if they're X amount of feet away and it's reading 86 and the level is at 85, then they would go say that's in violation. That does provide some clarity, right? Because then you can have a body camera, you can have a decibel meter, and it's all clear and kind. I'd be happy to explore that if the board wants me to, but I think it might be a kind of a reasonable start, would just be my recommendation of a town-wide 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Enforceable by the ordinance.
Okay, question. What about the truck that we get out here?
Yes, I think the spirit of this was to apply to residential. But if the board wants me to look and see if I can even provide even more clarity around 11 to 7 for residential, or if you want it to be for something of that nature too, I can always explore the language of that to make it more clear.
Chief, is that right? I don't know. Basically, what it is, I think it's the guys coming in and
And we do, so this is a lot more, this is also still geared to demolition, alteration, repair of any building, in residential or business district other than between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. is prohibited. So we have a couple different areas, but the way that it's operating right now is still just not very clear for us to be able to effectively enforce.
Way it's currently.
I'll make that formal motion.
All right. Any more on that? Discussion regarding code enforcement on the indoor furniture.
Mr. Mayor, this is another one that's kind of come up recently. Conversation. Indoor furniture on either front porches or screened-in porches, and the way that our ordinance is currently written, unlawful. They take it to our code enforcement folks about that. What I wanted to bring to the board is because I felt some dissonance myself with maybe, and seven, but what I felt was a little bit of dissonance in what I thought maybe the spirit of that ordinance was and kind of how it was being applied, right? So like, for example, if someone has a screened-in porch and wants a comfier chair and a screened-in porch, should there be an exception for that? We've had some folks come in and say, well, I have, a medical issue and I can't sit on an outdoor rated like wicker chair, but I want to sit down and have coffee on my own front porch, and now I'm getting tickets for it, right? So like, I even had conversations with our code enforcement folks to try to push them on this to say, well, something that's not rated for being outside. So, okay, so let's say I have a wooden chair that's rated for outside, and then I bring a couch cushion in because I don't want my rear end to hurt. Is that in violation? Well, technically, yes. Right? And I just feel like at some point, I think the spirit of this ordinance and the way it's being enforced is kind of having a disconnect, because I feel like the spirit of this ordinance is so that indoor furniture and appliances means that you can't have, you know, huge couches in the grass in the front yard and a refrigerator and all these different things. But is the spirit of the ordinance trying to tell somebody that they can't have couch cushion on their chair in their screened-in porch or on their front porch? So I would just want to seek a little bit of, I guess, maybe guidance from the board on, is there any interest in me working through this to see if we could add any maybe exceptions to that for example, a screened-in porch, or make a change to that, or am I just overthinking?
I think if they wanna put a chair or something on the porch, that's a screened-in porch, we barely see into it anyway. People shouldn't be looking on people's porches anyway, but, and if they have it on a non-screened-in porch, as long as it's not junk, they keep it up and it looks.
This is like it's an outdoor.
Right, outdoor
Right,
stuff.
outdoor
But on a
furniture.
screened-in porch, that should, screened-in porch is actually inside.
And to be clear, the ordinance says on open porch, so open porch should not.
I have a concern, being that, I live in a neighborhood with a HOA. Number one complaint that I've heard from my experience is, that's why I don't want to live in a neighborhood with a HOA. My house is my property. If I choose to do this at my house, on my property, it shouldn't be anybody else's business or concern, because this is my house. So that's why a lot of people avoid moving into neighborhoods with HOA, because they don't want to be told what to do with the properties that they're paying a mortgage on or whatever every month. So with that being said, or it's gonna be like Ranlo has a HOA here, where we're governing what people do with, on their property? Is that what we're getting into? I don't know.
Well, I had an individual,
Is it really that bad?
Right.
Or is it mind your business?
I was siding with you and saying that I don't think it should be. I feel like
I
to
mean, we
me,
got
it
bigger
was,
things in town that need to be enforced, it's not being enforced.
to me, if I'm having coffee in my screen porch, then I should be able to sit in the comfy chair, but I also don't like laws. So,
Oh,
I just want to get a take. Really.
open porches, I get it. I mean, you're asking everybody, you know, if you allow one, you can allow everybody. That's what we're trying to keep, you know, looking all right, everybody. But I had an individual that called me the other week that you know, his yard was just off. And I, you know, like you said, it's his house. I told him, I said, but you live in a community that has ordinances. You need to abide by the ordinances. Bought the house, if you didn't like the ordinances, probably should went to the county.
But many people don't know the ordinances when they buy their property. They don't know what the
Well,
kind of ordinance is.
Well, when you're within a town, those ordinances could change while you're there.
Yeah.
Depends upon the government body. And has ordinances. Even though we're not as strict as the HOAs, we have ordinances.
Grandma wants to sit on the couch on the porch in grandma's house, and grandma's relaxing on her porch, on her couch.
Let's take it in the evening. I think what we're trying to, don't have it on every porch. Mess. Try to keep-
How do we choose? How do you say, okay, 2 on this street, but 4 on this street, and
That's why you just have to make a rule and everybody has to abide by it.
I want to be clear, the law is clear in North Carolina. Has the right to see that something is not really causing an issue and do it. But I've actually had cases like this before where there has been full-on couches in yards or on front decks that are open, exposed, that are posted. Water gets in, you can get mold issues, you can get all kinds of vermins and stuff like that that become an issue. So I think that's what, this same provision is in cities all across North Carolina. They have the same thing for that very reason. But for the situation with grandma on the farm, I mean, those are things that the code enforcement officials should have discretion.
random thoughts. Here in Ranlo, I've yet to see this. Can you have a clothesline in your backyard?
Yeah.
You can't have that in Ranlo?
Nothing in the nuisance ordinance that calls for that.
Okay, I just asked because I know like in our neighborhood, in Spencer Heights, we can't have that because of HOA. So I was just curious if residents in Ranlo can have a clothesline. I actually wish I had one.
Section will give,
And it sounds like too that the open porch part leaves out the closed porch part, which is one of the biggest. Basically, put a pause on all enforcements until we have discussions.
junk cars. Get on all of it. Probably you. Okay, next item. Board discussion regarding a property on Sunset.
Yeah. What we're talking about is Yard's got high weed stuff, and they made it as a habitat. Wildlife, and they got the permit out on the post. A lot of neighbors have complained that it causes snakes and stuff. I've had one neighbor kill 3 snakes in his driveway. Grass cut and everything, looking nice. And this looks like a jungle.
Yeah, so we, just for some kind of background context, property that we're discussing received a code enforcement violation for overgrown grass. Since then, they've evaded the issue and have been consistently mowing the grass. We actually sat down and had a conversation about what their plans were for the property. As Commissioner Morgan stated, we have specific bed areas where they're growing different vegetables, they're growing some North Carolina wildflowers, some sunflowers. And according to our code enforcement folks, when we had that discussion with them, now that they are mowing the grass, they're not in violation of any of our ordinances. So kind of going back to what you said, where, you know, what they do on their property, as of right now, they're not in violation of any town ordinance. Or I guess the mention had been made of snakes, and there's a creek nearby to the property. I don't know if we'd be able to point if that's where it came from. I'm not on either side. I'm just, all we can do is from like a staff point, is enforce our current ordinances, and because they are now mowing that grass, they're not in violation. But I know that, Mr. Moore wanted to have some conversation about that. So they're doing all kinds of different stuff. So I think, the property owner, mistaken is like a master gardener. We had a NC State, I think, certificate when she came in and had a schematic of the design of what they're planning on doing in the yard. And it's actually, the design was actually pretty interesting, with all the different beds that they had. At one point, she had said, and she was, I think, she'll probably want to come in at some point, to discuss this with the board. She wants everybody to know what's going on. But she at one point even said that she's hoping to have some sort of like small type trails where even kids in the community come and learn about gardening and learn about habitat and have butterflies and different things like that. And I won't steal a thunder, and talk about all the things that they're doing. I guess we could always set up a time where we could all sit down together to talk about what their vision is, to maybe all have an understanding of what it is too. But at the end of the day, I mean, they're not in violation of any of our current ordinances. So I just want to make sure that was.
Don't have any ordinance that you need to have grass cut in the front yard. I mean, I can see it in the backyard, front of the house.
And so the areas, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me be clear about what the ordinance requires. There's two parts of the nuisance ordinance that relates to grass or weeds or the like. So you have to have three things. One is you have to have grass that is 12 inches or higher. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is that it has to be threatening to cause, or causing a hazard detrimental to public health or safety. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is it has to be an obnoxious amount. So, you know, if you just have one blade of grass that's over 12 inches, you know, so those are the three things you have to have for the first one. That's noxious weed or grass in excess of 12 inches that are causing threat. Second one is a place of heavy growth of vines, shrubs, noxious vegetation, or weeds or grasses 12 inches in height, which is also has to be, that lies between the abutting property line and the curb, or if there's no curb, the edge of pavement. So that's more location. So those are the two things. So what I understand is because it's under 12 inches, failing for that reason, because they can't really point this. To answer your question, if you had weeds and grass and, or even shrubs and vines that are over 12 inches in height, that are in the front yard, you know, that could cause issues, then that is something that is something to enforce.
Well, it was at one time really high. tree stumps all around with animals sitting on top of it. It wasn't that type of. What they've done now, you can get certificates on the internet for anything.
Coach, when I talked to them, they said the lawnmower was broken. They tried to get. Pass.
Well, the neighbors have said that they went down and asked them, did they cut their grass, and they said no.
Well, I know it got very obnoxious over the summer, and then they all was in at the end of the summer, and they saw those.
Well, the grass is high beside their house, between them and their neighbor, is way high. Like a wood, back of wood out there.
Have you talked to these? Have you talked to him? Have you asked him?
Yeah, I've talked to them, they said they want to sign in the natural area. I like it now, it looks better than,
Get on people for high grass, and you gotta make them cut grass, they'll need to do a little better job, build habitat.
all season grass cutting right now.
I've had all summer though.
Yeah, they've had all summer.
Can't cut it with scissors and trim it up.
Now, we can come back to this when the summer comes and
Yeah.
see what they do.
No, I get a lot of complaints too, not as much as people that live by them as people driving down the road.
And the ones with high grass, but they can just claim theirs as habitat too.
I got a question. I don't know if this is the appropriate time for me to bring this up, but since you're talking about grass and yard, this house on Spencer Mountain Road, this one, the Paysauer house, it usually, the trees have overgrown this house. I was sitting back there in those trees. Do we get complaints about that? Art? It's probably in a worse situation than this home you're talking about on Sunset.
Well, that house, on Spence Mountain Road is unoccupied. This
But it's
house
still
on
owned by,
Sunset,
somebody owns this property
the
though,
one on
right?
Sunset, people lives in it. So
But it's still owned by someone,
that's
right?
true.
And they have to maintain, they're the owners of the property, right?
Yeah, there's all, the lady, that owns the property, one time, the town stepped in and helped her out, volunteered,
Right?
and they, suppose she had, heart surgery.
Okay, so I guess I'm just kind of wondering, I'm thinking that would have more precedence over it than this on Sunset. A tree is grown in the front,
Oh,
trees have overgrown this home. Why aren't we talking about that
That's true.
opposed to Sunset property?
We got every manager we ever had. Space tax, Charlie.
I'm gonna tell you something, I really like the house.
But she will. Yeah.
Her husband, and I seen him at the anniversary of Ranlo's anniversary.
It's an eyesore. It is an eyesore, and I'm just questioning why we're not talking about that one.
That one too, yeah. Let's do both of them.
We have a nice long list of problems.
Let's get them all.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Anything else you wanna discuss? Are you clear on that sunset? I mean, I reckon,
Yeah, and it wasn't an item to bring up. Commissioner Ward wanted to speak about it. I think it's a healthy conversation, at least from what I gather. Maybe if I can try to sum it back up is, now that the growing season's kind of slowed, maybe in summer we'll kind of revisit if it becomes a problem.
other business, town manager's report.
All right, yes, I'll make this pretty brief. So a couple events coming up that we're very excited about. So our senior Thanksgiving lunch is happening on the 23rd. That'll be at 12 o'clock here at the Ranlo Church of God. We're very excited to have some of our senior citizens out for Thanksgiving lunch. We will have food, we will have some door prizes. I believe High Ground is going to be here to do some performing, so it should be a good time. That'll be the 23rd at Fun, which is a big event that I'm very excited that I haven't gotten to see yet, that I'm excited about getting to witness. It's on the 7th at, what time?
Start about 7 o'clock that morning, they leave out of here.
Leave out of here at 11, but it starts at 7. There should be a bunch of motorcycles for an amazing cause, so that will be on the 7th. That staging is here, right? And then we'll go down towards 7, back up New Hope, out towards Dallas, and make a big loop for the tour bus. That's the 7th at 11. As you may have seen, the Ranlo Extension Project is now underway. Lewis Site Development Group, who is our contractor, has already started clearing that area in between those two roadways, so that is off and running. The Christmas parade, we're very excited about having that. That's going to be on December the 21st at 1 p.m. That will be like in previous years where the floats and everything will stage back up here towards Malo and Ranlo Church of God, and we'll head back down Spencer Mountain. Should be a great time. One thing we are changing a little bit this year is that we previously had our lineup time at about 12 o'clock, and then the parade starting at 1. We're going to start opening our setup time for folks to come at 11 o'clock this year to give folks more time to come and get set up. That way, we're hopefully not having some folks rush in at 1 o'clock when Santa's trying to get on the parade route. So 11 o'clock, come start staging up at the Ranlo Church of God in Malo, and then 1 o'clock for the parade on the 21st of December. Absolutely, yeah. Other than that, I want to just kind of quickly share on my vision for some of the roadway improvements that I have kind of thinking towards the future. Those of you, I think Commissioner Lockwood, you may have been the only one that wasn't on the board when we had our budget conversations last April. But when we sat down and did our budget workshop conversations, some of the concerns that we got, or that I received from this board of commissioners, were roadway improvements, knowing that we have some very much needed asphalt and resurfacing that needs to happen to some of our roads. We talked about the town hall facility. We got that more or less fixed, and we're making strides to get that one done, among a lot of other things. But one of the big common themes I did hear throughout that budget workshop was talking about some of our roadways and services. So what I was planning on doing in conjunction with this board is once we kind of get through the RFQ for town hall police station, we can come around kind of into the new year, the new calendar year, not the new fiscal year, and take a look to see if we want to send out possibly an RFQ about having somebody come in and do essentially like a prioritization of some of our roads, right? So like a study, if you will, to say, all right, well, how many town roads do we have? What material are they? What year were they put down? What condition are they in? Are they a primary road? Are they a secondary road? Have a professional come in and tell us, and then once they should be able to then run priorities, so we say, oh, this one needs help, whether it's fire station, if it's SN, I don't know, this one needs the most help, and then they'll be able to provide us nice priorities, right? And then what we can do is start contracting out, start getting some of these roads we pick, whether it's some of these secondary roads or these alleys that we have over here in the Mill Village, able to start working on some of that stuff. If that's scaring you because that sounds pricey, look back at our financial expense report. All this can come out of the Powell bill. So we have a lot of money in our Powell bill fund balance that is supposed to be used for this. And after we had that meeting with the LGC, that's not something that gets reported on a report card, if you will. Not suggesting that we blow through all the fund balance, that would be ridiculous. But that's exactly what that money's there for. We have it to do this work. So I think if we can start putting a plan together on getting some of our roads in better shape, I think that'd be great for us. I think it'd be great for our residents, get less potholes, and really kind of make the town look a lot better and improve some of those roadways. That'll be something just to give you a little bit of kind of a vision for what I'm thinking, because that was brought up in the budget workshops, is when we come around on this new calendar year to start really diving into some of that stuff. So I think that's the last thing I had. I will pass it over to Chief Lunsford, who will.
Mayor, Commissioners, Police Department responded to 441 events in the month of October. We issued 30 citations, we made 16 arrests. Some of the calls we had was 9 domestic violence, 10 K9 calls for service, 3 breaking and enters, 3 DWIs, served 9 warrants, with numerous other calls. That's all I have.
Do you have twins?
Sorry.
Are the twins here?
They're at home, they're not here.
I mean, but they're doing well, as
They're
in,
doing well.
okay, great,
Yeah,
great,
they,
great.
they was released from the hospital, they're doing well. He had them up here the other day.
Oh, okay, great, great.
Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, I was, unable to be at the last board meeting and also missed the last. I have nothing, anybody from the board? Okay. Consideration of closed session items.
Unless we're going to close session.
So,
All in favor?